So today, well, this week, I'm going to be doing these bed rails on this truck. The truck's a 04 F250 and typical, northeastern truck. It's rotted like all hell. Bed's coming loose. Drop down in that corner. The rails are pretty much all gone. There's a little bit of support left around each bolt, but the front right two bolt areas are pretty much gone. Bed floor is pretty much rotted out, as you can see. So I pretty much cut from about here all the way down to here, just past the seam of the floor. And then over here, same thing, about halfway through. And then it's just all rotted out. Did a little trimming from there to there. There wasn't much. I mean, you can see the bed's like drop down. It's so bad. The reason I cut it right here like this to start, because I got a gooseneck hitch for it. So I plan on hauling a gooseneck with this occasionally. I'm also not buying bed rails for it. I'm going to be rigging it up with street sign posts because they look just like a bed rail, pretty close at least. And also I got 4 strips of this stuff. I think one's like a 8 or 9 foot section. The rest are about 6.5. And the shape is so close to a bed rail. I'm just going to make it work regardless. The only thing I noticed that's a little difficult is the bed rails are different heights. So like, well, it's hard to tell now that I cut everything out. But like from this third one in is, I believe it was 1 3/4 for the height. Something like that, yeah, looks like it's about 1 3/4. This front one, when I measured it, was about 2.5. I can measure right there. It actually looks like 2 inch. I'm gonna have to double check because I measured the bolt side over there. So it was about 2.5. The front I measured and it was definitely 3 inches on the other side of what's left there. And I think the back might be 3 inches as well. So that's the only difficult thing, is I gotta figure out how to make the heights right. Because this stuff is, I believe it's 1 3/4. 1.5, at least this piece is about 1.5. I know they make this stuff in different sizes too. So this is 1.5. So I'm gonna cut the length down to the frame rails, obviously, for the width of it. And I'll probably just trim off some sections where the bolts go and stack it in there. Just stack it up in there to make up for however much height I need. It'll be quite a waste of the stock, but it's either that or I can use like some 2x4s or something and shim it that way. But I think since I got so much of the signpost stuff, I'm just going to make that stuff work. And it didn't cost me a dime. It's just going to cost me welding wire. But so I'm going to try and throw those in, make the heights right. And once the rails are complete, I'm going to do my gooseneck hitch in there, which should also help support the bed floor up, aside from it being rotted out. But I'm going to lay that bed panel piece back down there, and probably just going to use a little bit of flat stock here and there and just tack it every so often, and hope that works. So here's where I'm at currently. I cut the length down to 37.5, I believe it was, whatever the frame rails were. With what I had left over, I trimmed these 2 3-inch pieces, 3-inch long, if you will. Frame rails 3-inch in diameter, at least on the back half. The front half was, I think, like 2 1/4. I don't care, it's close enough. So I'm just gonna make them all 3-inch. So with one stacked just sitting there, I didn't tap it down into place or anything. It's just sitting there pretty. The measurement from the bottom here to the base here is, I think it was just a hair over 2 inch. Might have been closer to 2 1/4. So I figured what I could do, because in the last clip I said I think this side was 2 inch when I got underneath of there, and I was pretty positive it was about 2 1/4 when I measured literally that gap that I'm pointing at where the bolt head is. I measured the gap in between the below the washer of the bolt head and the top of the frame, and I thought it was about 2 1/4. So I guess, yeah, I don't know, taking the sheet metal for consideration. Anyhow, like I said, I believe I'm at about 2 1/4 right now, maybe 2 3/16. So I can tap it down with the hammer to probably seat it a bit further down, and it, you know, adjust it if I need to make it 2 inches. If I got to go up 2 1/4, whatever, I can throw washers or something in here and make up for that. I just got to figure out the center hole. Let's say it's this one, for example. These all actually happen to line up too. And I'll just drill that out for the bolt, put her in there, and tack it to the bed floor. And what's going on with this camera? Tack it to the bed floor, bolt it down, and that's pretty much it. That would be a whole bed rail built. So that's basically the gist of it right there for that one. Now, just playing around, I stacked that one there. I measured once again from down here to the base here. This was just shy of 3 inches, which, like I said before, I'm pretty sure the front rail is about 3 inches. So I'll shim it with washers if need be, or, you know, make adjustments as such. But this looks like it's really going to come together and work out pretty well. But I'm going to start with these 2 inner ones just because I already have the hole in the bed. It'll make it easier to work with, and see what I can get out of it so far. So pretty much where I'm at right now, I'm about to do a couple of, well, I guess I'm just going to weld it all in. I used 2 nut and bolts here, and I just pulled it in evenly. I checked my measurements. I double checked the truck again, and I made sure it is about a 2 inch bed rail below the bed floor. So it was about 2 1/4 initially. So I pulled these bolts in and squeezed it together and got it down to about right at 2 inches. It's just a hair over, but it'll be all right. So I'm going to burn that in now, and that'll be one side built. It's fucking ugly, but I kind of expected that when, you know, It's hard to make something pretty when you just don't give a fuck about what you're doing, really. This truck ain't nice at all. I'm just trying to make it usable again with the bed. This side of the bed are on. That's all I'm going to do though, is just those little welds. Basically 4 welds on each side, each corner. And call her good. I might even just leave the bolts in for extra support. And I don't know how lucky I'm going to get with this being centered. I'm sure it's going to be off or something, but hopefully I can utilize it in some extent. Make the bolt work. But that's one side of the bed rail done right there. I said it ain't pretty, but honestly it beats spending the $200-300 or whatever putting this pile of shit. It's probably gonna blow up anyways. It's a 6.0. All right, so I got her in the truck right now as sort of a test fit, if you will. And it's actually going to be perfect because I still got a little bit of a lip sticking out here when I lay this bed floor back down. So that'll give me something to kind of work with as far as tacking that back in. But I mean, it's dead nuts width. Like I said, up here was like 2 1/4 or whatever. Yeah, probably 2 1/4 for the width. And then back here, it changes to 3. So like I said, I made these pieces all 3 because, you know, I just don't give a fuck. But that's all. It just hangs out, you know, another 3/4 of an inch, I guess, if you will. But it's not like I had to force the bed upward for it all to line up. I mean, the rotted side, yeah, of course I did. But it looks perfect in there. And I just, you know, of course it's not bolted or nothing, but I just stood on this and it's got all of its structure back. Before you couldn't even stand on it, it would just bow out. But this is really coming together nicely. I gotta tell you, it's kind of nice, like having a rotted piece of shit like this. You just sit down and work on it. But so what I gotta do, like I kind of figured, it was gonna land between the holes. So I gotta drill, I don't know what it is. I cut the old bolts out because I couldn't get them out. But I believe it's about a 1/2 inch bolt, whatever metric version of that is. So I'm gonna have to double check the old pieces that I cut out. There's one down there. Gotta check the ends of that, see if it's about 1/2 inch or whatever. And I'm gonna have to drill that out so it lines up. And then I guess I'm gonna have to buy a bed bolt kit. I could get away with putting regular 1/2 inch hardware in there, but the problem is the bolt kits have that little speed nut clip thing that clips onto the frame rail. So if you want to pull the bed off again, which I imagine I'm going to probably do all this, close this up, and the fuel pump's going to go bad. At least then I could just zap the bolts out and it'll come right apart again. But all these ones they're all thinned out, rotted up. I tried heating them up, impacting them, wouldn't come out. So I'm going to buy a bed bolt kit and it'll just make it easier in the long run. Another beautiful effing day out here in New Jersey. Got my bed bolts, cheap Amazon ones. I think they were $30 for the kit. What I didn't realize is, I guess that's like a washer. I don't know if that's like permanently attached to that or if that comes off, but the 2 rusted bolts I cut out, I couldn't get the washers off. I also didn't really try, but to make up for that, I'm building a plate here. Don't look at that, it's ugly. But I'm making a plate here. It's gonna act as a washer. It's also gonna work for this mess here since there ain't gonna be nothing at all to bolt to. It's just all gone. So that plate I built is gonna go right here, sandwich this stuff together. I'll probably even weld it into that. I'm gonna have to build a washer for here. I'll just build a nice big one since I'm going to predict that it's going to rot out sooner than later. But that's it, sitting in there now without the washers. Like I said, I didn't realize there was even washers. Also, that bolt kit on Amazon like fucking sucks because this one I start throwing in there, didn't even really do anything crazy, and it's right there you can see it's stripped out. So I'm gonna have to get the old tap and dial on that. Hopefully I can clean it up, or I'll probably just wind up grinding them off or something, starting over, because they don't need to be as long. All the bolts are the same size in the kit anyhow. That's where I'm at. So I got paint drying and stuff. I started drilling these holes for the 1/2 inch, well, for the bolt, if you will, and I don't know, I guess my shitty drill bit's hardened to steel at one point drilling it, and I just couldn't drill through the one section anymore, so I just used a torch and bored it out with that. It'll be fine. Did it on both sides there, so now I know in the future when I do the next piece, I'm gonna have to use the torch and just bore those ones out too. What I'm probably gonna wind up doing is just these 2 rails at the moment, because I don't feel like pulling the bed to do the well, at least the first one. I don't even know if the last one needs to be done, but the first one certainly does. But I just did this really to get the gooseneck hitch in, and I figure I could do these 2 rails while I'm here. And once I get this second one done, well, I gotta finish this one first, but once I get the second one done and get the gooseneck hitch in, I'm probably just gonna leave it be for now. And as it gets warmer, I'll get somebody over here to help me at least lift the bed partially, kind of tilt it upward so I could slide in a piece. And the front was going to be, I believe it was 3 inches. I have to double check, but I'll just build a section that's 3 inches tall and hopefully be able to throw it in there without actually pulling the bed off of it fully. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, so I'm back on this pile of shit again. This has been a process. Been real busy lately, and family came in I ain't seen in years, so I ain't touched this thing in a little bit. I did get the gooseneck hitch in. That was another part of the problem, is like I kept painting it, letting it cure, and putting the final coat on the blue. That was taking a long time to cure, but it's Ford blue. It's actually like Ford New Holland blue. I don't know if that's the same as like their Ford engine blue or whatever, but whatever, it's close enough. Of course I already nicked it up, get it in here, but I don't care. I got rid of the rust on it. That was the biggest thing. I figured it kind of looked cool from the outside, seeing the blue down on the side of the frame. I just got that all put together, and unfortunately I noticed that it's not, the gooseneck hitch appears to be sitting a little higher than the bed now. So either the 2 inches that I measured twice, of which I made that bed rail, either something's not right with the height. Maybe it should have been 2 1/4, like I initially said. I don't know. I mean, if anything, the bed rails are, the signpost is thicker than a stock bed rail. So I don't know. It ain't right though. I mean, my hand, this is kind of, it feels like this is flush with the top of here. I didn't check it with a straight edge or anything. It's just rubbing it by hand. But even by eyeball, it looks like it's sitting pretty much flush. I mean, once again though, I don't care, because the truck's a pile of shit anyways. And really, I almost contemplated even bothering to put the patch back in here, because I'm not going to be throwing anything small in the bed. Probably not even going to really be using this bed, but I'm going to throw the plate back on, the bed floor back on, start making my lines here to get the best center point. Make lines here. So now I'm going to have to get a 4-inch hole saw to hog a hole into that. As far as when it comes to repairing this, either it'll just be slightly pulled down, I'll burn it in if I even have the distance to work with, or I'll just find some way to patch it up, get it closed or something. I got plenty of flat stock laying around, so I could probably make something work. And at that point, then I'll probably just throw the bed liner back in, which I didn't want to do, just because I don't really like bed liners. And I'm also going to have to put an access hole in the bed liner for that, which is no big deal. But I mean, I definitely start going into this assuming the the bed liner was trashed. Now, so I threw that in because the bed rail was entirely gone on this side. It just had a piece there of a rust mound that was holding it somewhat up. So I blew that bolt out and went to go slide that piece in there to see how it fit height-wise, and I felt I was bound up on something. Well, of course, like right around here, there's a piece about yay long of old bed rail left, like just a little spot weld of it. So I can't, now that I put the gooseneck hitch in there, I can't get in there to clean it up with the grinder from up top. So I dropped the spare tire down, and I'm just gonna lay up underneath it here and work on it, try and get it cleaned up a little bit so I can get that new bed rail in there, sit flush. This one looks real close. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this one might have been a 1 3/4 or I don't know, 1 7/8 or something. I know it's definitely the shortest, well, aside from the rear. I don't know anything about the rear one, but it's shorter than the front one I put in. Well, the second one in that I put in. The one all the way in the front was 3 inch, so that was 2. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this one's 1 3/4 or 1 7/8. I can't remember if that stuff's 1 1/2 or 1 3/4. It was close though when I slid it in. It seemed like I needed to put some washers in there just to shim it up. I'm probably not gonna stack a whole nother signpost on top of it. I think that would be overkill at that point. But that's where I'm at right now. So I'm gonna grind that piece off down there and get working on throwing that new rail in. Once I got that rail in, I'm just gonna throw everything back together here and walk away for now till I get a friend or something over to help me actually pull the bed, or at least prop the bed so I can do the front rail. And also the front corner here where you can see where the bed's sitting uneven, it's loose. And the reason for that, it's rotted. It's rotted here. Let me see if you can see it. It's hard to tell with me moving and the bed moving, but this is actually not attached to, I guess it must attach to the bed rail. Since it's rotted out, it's not attached to anything anymore on this corner. Anyhow, it must be a little left over there, but the bed is actually sitting, the walls are sitting lower than what they're supposed to. So what I'll do in the meantime is I will put a floor jack or something under it, pick it back up, make it sit level with the other side, or at least level across here. And then I'm probably just gonna do some welding here. Maybe I'll throw like a little bit of flat stock in there or something to help give it some support, because it is all rotted, beyond rotted out here. But I'm gonna lift the bed back up and do some with the welder just to get the bed to sit level again, because nothing drives me crazy, more crazy than with these Super Duties sitting with fucked up beds on them. That's why I'm using signposts to fix mine. But that's where I stand, and I'm going to get to work on that right now. Okay, so where I'm at now, not entirely done, but I made these plates for the bolt holes to act as washers, and it also gives it something to allow me to burn that middle section back into. But I just used a torch and blew out 1/2 inch holes instead of killing my drill bits that are already dead. The rail's in here. I mean, but this is the reason I made such a big plate. You know, it's just going to sandwich everything back together, and it gives me something to tack that to. But it will fit perfect. I'm going to clean this up more and then paint it, get all the rough edges and shit off of it. But the rail is in there, and this one I do have sitting nice and, it's hard to tell with the camera, but it is sitting like just perfect over top of the surface of the gooseneck hitch. So I also I start doing some measurements for the hole, but I still got to get a 4-inch hole saw and set it like the way you're supposed to do these is you just cut guess that would be 1/2 inch or maybe less, maybe 3/8 or 7/16, but whatever it is, you just cut 2 holes in your bed floor and liner whatnot, and it's just nutted down underneath with springs. So you're supposed to just do that, and then it sits on top of the surface of your bed floor. But I'm just going to burn a hole with the torch or the cutoff wheel around it and leave it like that, just to make it easier for myself. And that's where I stand. Well, I can't believe how fucking retarded I am, but these things happen. I have 2 clean trucks here. Why didn't I walk up here and look at the bed rails on one of these? And honestly, it's my measurements are way off. That kind of explains why my other one was below the gooseneck plate, because all this shit is gone. I was measuring this, just the very end, which is 2 1/4. So I made my measurements based off this end piece. I didn't realize this dropped down further. And like I said, I should have fucking looked at that. So it's about 2 1/2. So that explains it. Like a 1/4 inch or maybe more than a 1/4 inch off for the middle rail, well, second end rail. This one I haven't finished yet. 2. It's probably like 2 1/16, 2 1/8. But that's a big factor. All this part is all gone on that truck. There ain't nothing left except the front one on that truck. There's a little bit left on it on the blue truck, but I mean, that's a major change. So my back one's good. I didn't have no issues there when I made that. The front one though should be lifted up. So I'm probably going to wind up just jamming some washers under there to make up the space. But that explains a lot as to why it didn't work out before. This one looks like it's about 3 1/8. Oh God, what is that? 3 1/8, I'd say. So the front one needs to be about 3 1/8. Actually, important one to try and get her level again. There's an 8-footer, so there's I guess another rail more further up there. Incredible. Just want to share that. Well, unfortunately, this project's not going to be completed. Only because after having it off, I see there's just nothing left to weld to. I mean, yeah, I could sand this down. It'd probably be pretty thin and just burn through. I could also do stuff like maybe put a plate here to extend it up to the good metal and burn it in. But I have a flatbed sitting here, and if I didn't have that bed sitting here, then I would repair this bed and make it work. But I mean, this is the rear one that has no bolts through it. Your rear bolts go through this one, but this one, there's no bolts, so you just weld that one onto there, but there's just nothing here to work with. It's just so rusted. So it is repairable still to make it work. But like I said, I have a flatbed here, and the amount of time and effort that I'm going to throw into this bed, I might as well throw that time into making the flatbed fit my truck, which all I got to do is lop off 1.5 feet or whatever. It's a long bed, single rear wheel. But this is possible to do, and it would cost you nothing but some time. And I also noticed when I was on Rock Auto, just researching some things, you can buy a bed floor. I'm sure Amazon has it, I didn't bother. But you could buy a whole bed floor for, I think it was $44 on Rock Auto without shipping. But then I run into a problem of what am I going to weld to? I'd still have to make some plates or something to weld it all up. So I'm not going to bother with this bed, but I do want to get the video posted. Hopefully I can help somebody out. The only thing I just recommend doing is looking at a good truck bed rails if you're going to do it, to see. I wish I had done that from the start because I wound up having to shim the one, but it's possible. It is doable. Don't be discouraged. As long as you got a welder, torch, grinder, whatever, the basics, you can definitely do this. A little bit of signpost, a little bit of flat stock. Somebody also told me that newer signpost, at least, is more brittle. I guess they're designed to snap off if a car hits them. This shit is definitely not brittle. I mean, this stuff is really old. There's like 5 layers of paint on it, but I pounded the hell out of this stuff with the hammer and all. It never cracked or anything. It all held up. So I guess that's something to keep in mind, is if you get newer signposts, it may not work out, but it's definitely doable. You don't have to buy that $300 kit or whatever it is on Amazon. You can do this for next to nothing but a little bit of time. It's just since I have a flatbed, I'm not going to go this route and do all this and buy more metal for it. I'm already kind of pissed off that I wasted as much time doing it as I did, but it is what it is. I found a wee bit of frame rot on the very, very tail end of the truck when I was pulling the trailer hitch off, and I seen, I guess from the impact, knocking all the loose scale off the frame rails. I got a couple of little pinholes right around where the bumper mounted to the frame. So I wanted to get this off so I can get it over to a guy who actually does fabricating for a living, and I'm just gonna have him repair the frame because I don't have the time to invest into fixing the frame, fixing a cross member, then fixing the flatbed to work on the frame. So that's my predicament, but that's where I'm leaving off. Fortunately, I couldn't finish.